Hi, Vincent Hall Photographers. Well, like the proverbial broken watch that's right 2 times a day, there's 2 times a day that you can take pictures and have perfect lighting. It's called the golden hour, and it's that hour before sunset or that hour right after sunrise. So depending on whether you're a morning person or an evening person, one of these will probably work right for you. As you can see, I'm facing due west, and right now I have no shadows on my face. The sun is giving a warm golden tone, and it's really good for portraits or for selfies or for pictures of your pet or just really good landscape photography. The light is golden. It's warm outside today too. And it gives you a really nice effect. You have to watch that your phone, if you're doing selfies, doesn't create a shadow. Now, if I turn, right now I'm facing west, turning this way, I'm facing east. You can see how unflattering this light is. So the idea, now I'm backlit and there's dark shadows on everything. Of course, in the morning, this would be different. Your assignment is to try north, south, east, west, find the light that is the best. And you can see whatever might work best for you. So if I'm facing east right now, I'm facing south. South is going to give me some interesting highlights on the side of my face, probably accentuating wrinkles that have been there a little way too long. Back to the golden light of the perfect hour before sunset. And then facing north, which is going to give me again these specular highlights on the side of my face and almost a Rembrandt light if I turn a little bit. But perfect north right here, absolutely no shadows at all. Again, always indirect soft light. North light is your friend just as easily as the golden hour of 1 hour before sunset and 1 hour after sunrise. I'm going to show you some examples that I did on my own for photography assignment, and hopefully you'll find some inspiration. Looking at these photos on Photoshop, we're going to look at them one at a time, and this is the beginning when we're starting, which is sunrise. So for all of you early birds, here's a chance to get a sense of what you might be looking at if you're trying to shoot a landscape in the golden hour of sunrise. You can notice the almost seamless gradient here. Let me get to the move tool so you can see the arrow. And you'll be able to see how it almost duplicates the warm tones to the cool tones. Yes, it's cut right in half, which isn't the best compositionally, but the idea is just to show what that warm glow would look like. As we move to a side view during the early morning hours, you can see that right now I'm facing south. So my east light is light and diffuse, and we're still getting a little bit of a tone, but things are a little bit cooler. Now we're going to move on to portraiture. My daughter, by the way, volunteered to be my model for this lighting assignment. This is as the sun was just coming up, and you can see if I zoom in that her skin tone, even though it's the golden hour as we call it, has a pinkish tone because the sun is just coming up over the horizon. So you will find that as the sun approaches the horizon line on both the sunrise and the sunset photos, that your tones will be a little more pinkish and cooler. Here's as the sun was coming up a little higher. Still that first hour of sunrise, she's getting a very nice warm tone on her skin. Things are starting to brighten up a little bit more as we move on as the sun gets higher. Turning a different angle, it gets a little bit warmer still. And as I recall, there was a little bit of cloud cover that came by that kind of diffused the light even more. As the sun gets further and further up, you'll notice that we're really almost washing the face out, but we are getting some beautiful warm tones here. And again, just another option just to show you the angles of the lighting and how elongated the shadows are. You'll notice that even though her face is directly in the sun, she's not squinting. A lot of that has to do with the fact that the light angle is so low, it's not bothersome to the eyes. In case you don't want to shoot people in your photography, this happens to be a duck swimming by. Again, the long, soft angles of water in the sun as it's rising. You can see the duck's back was getting hit, but almost like this almost Loch Ness monster look here of the duck. Neck being elongated, but the low angle of the sun is going to give you gorgeous reflection if you were so inclined. And then lastly, as the sun reaches the final stage of the golden hour, you can see how everything starts to warm up in tones. All of the trees, if you're shooting landscapes, are going to take on a warmer tone. Human faces, even the white back here of these houses takes on a creamier tone. So these are examples of facing east as the sun is coming up. And next we're going to be looking at what happens when you're facing west as the sun is going down. When I was demonstrating at the beginning of this, I was showing you samples of myself facing into the sun, but more likely you'll be taking pictures not of yourself, but of other objects as the sun is setting. This is a beautiful example one of my former students in high school took of her family farm. And as you can see, the sun has just gone below the horizon line here, but it's captured some beautiful side lighting on this tractor and the wagon and silhouetted the trees, because that's what will happen if you shoot into light. Of course, some things are going to be silhouetted. So in order for this photo to work, she had to angle where she was standing. But again, I love how the light is so soft and so subtle as it changes as the sun is setting. This is an example a little bit before the sun is set, but it's within the golden hour, And again, you can see the tones are a little different as the sun is coming down as opposed to when it's going up in the sunrise photos. This person is facing due west, and we can get some nice strong shadows on the side of the face just by turning your angle to be a little bit to one side or the other of your subject matter. And you can see, even though the sun was hitting this side of the street, the other side is very cool in its tones, but then this warm tone picks back up again. So it makes for a nice composition. So just be aware, not everything has to be bathed in a golden light. It's nice to have some rest with these cool neutrals. This tone, again, now what I'm doing is basically having the subject face the sun as it's going down, and we have these beautiful long shadows. It's my daughter again, and this is New Mexico. So you're getting that bathed golden light. So if you have your back to the sun as it's setting and photograph the objects as they're being illuminated by the sun, that's a good idea to try. Different one this time without the sunglasses. Again, it's really not going to bother your subject too much because the light is at such a low angle. But some really pretty tones, and I like the cerulean blue you're going to get with the sky at that point. This is one of my former students. Again, this was sunset. This is the canal in Georgetown. I'm sure we're familiar with that. But look how everything is bathed in this gorgeous golden light. So this is a twofer. We're getting reflection from last time, but we're also getting those nice low light angles and some nice architecture photography as well. And then this one, just through a leaf. Now I know it's not autumn, but there are leaves out there still that just shooting the light through, you could get a nice green or a pink or whatever color might be going on, or maybe flower petals if something's blooming. But this was as sun sets and seeing what it does when it illuminates a leaf as it sets. So there's some interesting pictures to try. This last one is very poignant. Of course, this was winter time. They're doing the laying of the wreaths, or actually the picking up of the wreaths. And the sun is coming at a lower angle. We are in that golden last hour of sunset. And you can see, even though people are silhouetted, the long shadows and a little hint of what they're doing here on their uniforms and such just gives you separation between the figures. But again, capturing something at a lower angle. And you may already have pictures that do this, and you're welcome to use those or recrop them for the purpose of the assignment. Of course, the key to this assignment is to try to find a spot where you can see the light as the sun sets. I happen to live in basically a gully, so I had to come out to the local high school parking lot in order to find good lighting. However, Vincent Hall has some spectacular views, especially from the parking lot. Those of you blessed with a deck outside of your apartment might find perfect sunset or sunrise, depending on where you face. But go ahead and try it. Again, north light, not a problem either. East and west, meh, you might not like it, you might. It depends on how much you like contrast. Anyway, just thought I would share those tips too. Now let's take a look at some more of those examples. One of the most challenging aspects of directional lighting is when your subject is facing south. This particular subject, one of my other daughters, my oldest daughter, was facing south as the sun was setting on this side of her face. So you can see this is illuminated. The reason I use this is because while southern lighting can be a challenge for photographers with this serious dark shadows and high contrast, if we recall Rembrandt, this is the perfect Rembrandt lighting, which is to have this little triangle of light on the cheek. So if you're going for a very traditional type portrait outside, or want to try something that's going to give you harsh angles and shapes, abstractions of architecture can be perfect for this. So using southern lighting can work well for you, and that means your subject matter is facing south. So you as a photographer would be facing north, opposite, so you're getting the southern lighting on your subject matter. This one is an example of facing north. When you face north, you really don't have any definitive shadows. Everything is softly lit. Yes, there's some shadows in these dark crevices of the rocks, but if you look here, there's soft shadows along these rocks. We don't have any hard edges like we did when we were facing south. North lighting is always going to give you something bathed in a very nice, neutral, soft light. This one also is facing south. We're kind of flip-flopping back and forth. So the lighting it's here, but we're kind of on an angle. So this is the west and the south's coming out this way, giving you some darker shadows on the tree, illumination similar to the face, but this time we're getting it in a landscape. Getting pets to face the light is always a challenge, but people do like taking portraits of their pets. This time the photographer is standing here. This dog is facing west, but the photographer has moved so that they're a little bit more in front of the dog, and we're getting this nice catch light and some soft shadows as well. So while you have your subject matter facing the light that you want, feel free to move around so you're not always directly right in front of them where the light would be. This one is facing south and the sun had just gone down. So there is the golden hour, and then there is right after the sun hits the horizon line and everything softens out again. So whereas the portrait that we looked at showed south lighting being very harsh, that hour before sunset, once the sun goes below the horizon line, everything goes south, goes soft again in south or north. So you get very little shadow and contrast, and everything's bathed in this very, very nice pastel, almost glowing light. On this one, just as the sun hit at the horizon line, this is my daughter again. We were in a restaurant, and I just noticed how the light was hitting her through the one window in the restaurant. You can get some really dramatic looks when that sun is directly on the horizon line, either sunrise or sunset, but you'll probably find more willing subjects at sunset. This one again, the subject is facing the light. The light is west. This is facing due west. This is actually a picture of one of my students in Alcatraz. We went in at the sunset tour when I was teaching back in the day. And anyway, she was looking out at the sun coming back in, but I moved so that where she's facing west, I'm actually facing north. So I'm facing her going north and getting a lot of really beautiful bathed in highlights, and everything has an almost monochromatic feel to it here as well. I hope those give you some insight into using lighting that's natural to your advantage. We're coming up on the time of year when it stays lighter longer. Of course, that also means it gets lighter earlier. So you really want to be a morning bird if you're going to do the sunrise. However, this lighting is stunning, and it doesn't have to be for selfies. The idea is to place your subject facing the light that you want to use. So right now my camera is turned this way because I'm using my iPhone as a video camera. If I was photographing me, think of the camera as the photographer. So you will be with your back to the light, and you will have your subject illuminated by that wonderful golden light called the golden hour. I hope you enjoyed this week's lesson. Go out and try it. You can try it with still life stuff sitting around somebody's car, landscapes, flowers, people, pets, sky, whatever you want to try. Sky's the limit, I guess. But I hope you have a nice Memorial Day weekend. Enjoy this assignment. It should be pretty weather, and it'll give you a chance to experiment with lighting and find what you like best.